Everybody plays the fool sometimes. There's no exception to the rule.
Hello, welcome to Red Talks. Recently, something interesting happened in the world of video games. A gentleman by the name of Tyler reached out on Twitter to Insomniac Games, who are the developers for the recently released Spiderman game. Now, he wanted to do something special for his girlfriend and have them put in an Easter egg where he could propose to his girlfriend. And I'll let you watch Tyler tell the rest of the story and see how it played out.
Sucks about this Easter egg is the date that I'm making this video now, 3-4 weeks ago. My girlfriend dumped me to go with my brother, basically throwing away the 5 years that we had together and spitting in my face, basically saying this wasn't even the way that she wanted to be proposed to, and just left me. So this might go down in history as the saddest Easter egg, maybe, I don't know.
So that was pretty messed up. So Tyler was with his girlfriend for 5 years, tries to do something really creative and thoughtful as a way to propose to his girlfriend. And it was really cool that Insomniac Games was willing to put that Easter egg in the game for him. And then what does she do? She leaves him and is now with his half-brother, I guess. But this isn't actually the worst of the story. It gets much worse. So we'll look at some articles and go through all the dirt here and see what's going on. So here we can actually see what the Easter egg was. It was a marquee placed on a theater where it says, "Maddie, will you marry me?" And Kotaku was one of the first outlets to actually publish this article and report on it. And from there, a bunch of other outlets started jumping on the story and reporting as well. But we can't just leave it to the good old, video game industry journalists and, just leave it as a story where boy and girl, just don't work out. Now we have to bring in the feminist side, and let's take a look. Here in an article from the Houston Press, we have a writer, Jeff Rune, however you pronounce it. And he's coming to the rescue of this damsel in distress after this harsh breakup where she left her boyfriend of 5 years and is now dealing with the turmoil of all this going public, and let's see what he has to say. Now, the first paragraph basically just recaps what happened with Tyler asking Insomniac Games to put the message in the game or whatever. The second paragraph down here is where it starts to get good. Jeff says, "I was immediately suspicious of the story in a post-gamergate world, assuming that we are post. Taking any supposedly heartbroken male gamer at his word over something like this is rather naive. Remember, Gamergate began its life as a harassment campaign thanks to a heavily workshopped blog post by Iran Jonji, falsely accusing his ex-girlfriend Zoe Quinn of various sins, including sleeping with reviewers for good coverage of her game, Depression Quest. It was a blatant and terrible act of control by a jilted man marketed to angry young male gamers. Schultz's tale had a similar feeling." And here we go. We're back at Gamergate round 2, it looks like. So if any of you aren't familiar with Gamergate, all you have to do is type Zoe Quinn 5 guys, and you'll find tons of awesome information, especially from Mr. Medicare, who was previously known as Internet Aristocrat. His channels have all been deleted for various bullshit reasons, as you can imagine. But he has done a very comprehensive expose on the whole Zoe Quinn situation. Everything was proven to be true. All the men involved came forward and were exposed to be found to be involved and have conducted unethical behavior in the video games journalism world and video game development world, where Zoe Quinn was having sex for favors and basically using sex to cover up the sex for favors. So everybody can go check that out if they want to. But so let's get into some more of this let's go back here where it says, taking any supposedly heartbroken male gamer at his word over something like this is rather naive. Well, wait a minute. Don't we have a whole movement going on for a while now where we're taking women's word on some certain issue that's rather important to them? Don't we just take women's word, when they say things that they don't like or they're not happy with, or they had a unhappy experience with a man? Wait, isn't there something out there that's going on right now where, we just take women's word at face value? Anyway, now Jeff goes on to write that he actually noticed that none of the other news outlets actually reached out to Maddie Gamble to get her side of the story, which is true. And I guess it's fair. If, you only have one side of the story, you should try to get both sides. So let's see what Maddie had to say. She says, basically Tyler and I had been together for over 5+ years. We started dating when I was 15 and a half, and we moved into my parents' house together shortly after due to unforeseen circumstances. Us moving in together so young was, I think, really hard on our relationship. We were living like the Brady Bunch with 8 people in our house. Our relationship was great for a long time, but I started to realize about a year ago that I was not happy. I kept it going because I wanted to make it work, but he has done some things that I realized I really shouldn't have forgave him for. Our relationship had issues both mentally and physically. He never understood me, unfortunately. Even the proposal, which he thought was the save-all of our relationship, was never the way I would have liked to be proposed to. I never liked video games, but I sat through them because I loved him. Our relationship turned into a mother and son relationship where I had to remind him about things. I had to deal with his financial mistakes, his violent outbursts, etc. We never did things normal couples would do, like go out, dance, parties, sit under the stars. I told him in July that he had a month to change my mind, and it didn't happen, so I broke up with him. I have big prospects in life, and I am a highly motivated individual, but it was extremely challenging to have to be someone else's motivation to simply get out of bed or get off his video games. As far as his half-brother goes, Tyler had asked him to check on me and ask me how I was doing after I broke up with him, so, of course, we got close, and our relationship just built from there. I did not leave Tyler for his half-brother, and I never have been unfaithful to Tyler. Here's an update. Gamble clarified later that she is not now, nor has she ever dated Schultz's half-brother, and they are just close friends. Aw, how sweet. So let's go back to this and kind of dissect it piece by piece. So they were together for 5+ years. Okay. They started dating when she was 15 and a half. So 15 and a half plus 5 years, what does that make? That makes 20 and a half. What happens when you turn 20 and a half? Well, that's pretty damn close to 21. And what happens when you turn 21? Oh, you can drink alcohol. You can go to clubs. You can be a bar sled and go out and party and drink. Let's see. Let's go more through this here. She says our relationship had issues both mentally and physically. What does physically mean? Was there physical abuse? Who knows? Even the proposal, which he thought was the save-all of our relationship, was never the way I would have liked to be proposed to. Oh, so her entitlement means that she gets to have some specific proposal that she, has to have her way. Okay. I never liked video games, whatever. We never did normal things couples would like to do, like go out, dance, parties, and sit under the stars. Yeah, going back to that, 21-year-old thing. Yeah, sounds like she wants to go out, she wants to dance, and she wants to party. And sitting under the stars, yeah, whatever, that's Fantasyland crap. But and that's not what normal couples do. Normal couples don't just go out and party. Normal couples do normal adult couple things. That's what single people do. Single people go out. Single people go dancing in the clubs and go to parties. Okay. So they were together for 5 years, but she told him in July that he had 1 month to change. Man, 1 month. That's really not much time. It sounds like she gave him a lose-lose deal there. She has big prospects in life, and she is a highly motivated individual. and it was extremely challenging to have to be someone else's motivation to simply get out of bed or get off his video games. So she's also, getting at the age where she has prospects. What are these prospects? Other men, other, other sexual opportunities. As far as his half-brother goes, Tyler had asked him to check on me and how I was doing. And so, of course, they got close. Our relationship just built from there. Of course they got close. Of course. Duh. Of course. And then clarified that later she's not now or never has dated Schultz's half-brother. And later, and that they are just close friends. Okay, close friends. Yeah. Okay. Sure, close friends. Yeah. All right, let's keep going on this article. There's still more to go through. More bullshit. And Jeff continues. Now he gets into his personal SJW mode here, where he throws out his own opinions. Public proposals can be very manipulative. They put the recipient in a spot where refusal becomes a public counterattack, or in Gamble's case, a post-relationship smear. Dean Bennett, writing on the subject for The Guardian, says, "This is a world where women can be vilified for refusing the sexual advances of a stranger. So actively rejecting someone you're committed to could be far worse again." Fuck, whatever. It was incredibly kind-hearted of Insomniac to offer to be a part of a fairy tale, but it's worth remembering that in a proposal there are two people involved. According to Gamble, Schultz's stunt was a desperate ploy to save a disintegrating relationship, and it may be, yeah. In a way, he felt it was appropriate rather than actually listening to his girlfriend and trying to repair the damage. Worse, video game journalism has unethically reprinted his accusation that Gamble left him for his brother without seeking comment from the other party. One look at the Kotaku Facebook page under her story reveals a rich vein of misogyny and hatred for Gamble, as Schultz paints her in a story of romance gesture gone bad. Now, I actually went to the Kotaku Facebook page by using the link that Jeff posted in his Houston Press article, and I definitely encourage anybody watching this to go check it out as well. There was absolutely zero misogynist comments about the ex-girlfriend up until the point there was 3 days worth of comments until here you see Jeff Ruiner in the middle. There was pretty much no negative comments at all, other than comments towards the brother. There was mostly just comments saying, oh, they felt bad for Tyler and felt sorry for him and whatever. And there was a few comments saying they can't believe the brother did, whatever, went for the ex-girlfriend. There was nothing that was talking shit about the ex-girlfriend, nothing calling her a whore for leaving him. There was, just a few comments saying, I can't believe she left him and things like that. Nothing that was overtly, trash-talking or misogynist or angry and vitriolic, as Jeff put it. Nothing negative really came up until Jeff came in and stirred up the shit pot here, saying, honestly, the whole thing sounds like a desperate ploy to save a dissolving relationship. Wonder what Maddie thinks. And then he, was basically Captain Save-A-Ho, social justice warrior. He reached out and did his article, did his thing, talked to Maddie, and then he completely changed the tide, which is ridiculous. So we're not supposed to believe a male gamer that's upset, but you can totally trust 100% a female who, was on the other side of the coin here. So, yeah, it's such a double standard here. We can't believe the word of a man, but we can totally trust the word of a woman and believe her side 100% and totally flip the script, which basically happened. If you read more of the comments on the Facebook page, it's crazy. So many people just were basically bought his shit and believed Jeff's point of view instead of, just taking it as it is at face value, saying, okay, one person says one thing, one person says another thing, whatever, there's some conflicting information here. But no, we just have to go ahead and switch sides and take the ex-girlfriend side now, just because Jeff came in and came to the rescue. So let's go back to Jeff's article here and finish off these last couple paragraphs. And there's a quote here. "The things he has been saying about me hurt, and that is something we mutually agreed not to do to each other. But it is not being reciprocated now," says Gamble. "I think it's just easier for him to hate me than to be hurt by my decision to break up. I hope he moves on and finds happiness because that's exactly what I'm doing." Oh yeah, she's definitely happy now. So, game makers, the next time some lonely man begs you to help publicly manipulate his girlfriend through a AAA release, maybe think twice about what her position is in the situation. Okay, and this is all from here at the bottom, Jeff, a contributing writer who covers politics, pop culture, social justice, video games, and online behavior. He is often a professional annoyance to the ignorant and hurtful. If that's the case, he must find himself really annoying. So let's dissect this a little more. His second half, basically, of this article is all about, in defense of the woman, this public proposal issue can be very manipulative. Oh yeah, not like women never manipulate men, and women are always the victims in a proposal situation. What about the man? How embarrassing is it for him, for Tyler to go through all this? Remember, earlier on in this article, Maddie said that Tyler moved in with her parents. So is he still living in her parents' house, even though they broke up, and his half-brother supposedly, or, allegedly, is, with her now? So what kind of situation does that put Tyler in? And what type of embarrassment is it for him in such a public situation like this? And, it's one thing if a woman just says no because she doesn't want to, but given the situation, who's the real victim here? Certainly not, Maddie. And here's the other thing. Jeff, goes on saying public proposals are so bad, but that was the way she wanted to be proposed to. She said she wanted to be proposed to at a big public, like Comic-Con or video game convention kind of a thing. It was even reported in the Kotaku article. Maybe if Jeff here actually did his ethical ivory tower gamergate post, journalism here, he would know that. But he just wanted to jump on the feminist bandwagon and come to Maddie's rescue. And now we have other, feminist news outlets coming to join and jump down the rabbit shithole to just take this story and turn it into something that it isn't even a part of, pushing their feminist agenda like always. Let's go back and look at some more details of this whole, this poor girl, this victim. Let's go back and let's really feel for her situation. Let's really untangle this spider web and dig deeper. I already went over the age thing. She was 15 and a half, add 5 years, and you pretty much get 21. And we all know what recipe that comes up with. Of course, she's 21. You got people that want to sow their wild oats, whatever, and that's definitely a factor in this. And then you add on to the last paragraph below where she says she has big prospects and she's highly motivated. And of course, this is hypergamy. She is of the age where she thinks she can do better. She can just go out and explore her options. And sounds like she found an option where she monkey branched to her brother. Well, I guess in this case, instead of monkey branching, it would be web slinging, just like Spiderman does when he swings from building to building. And I don't buy one bit of what she says about her and the half brother just being friends, But Jeff will convince you. Jeff will definitely tell you that it's take her word for it, 100%. Either way. If my brother and his girlfriend broke up, I wouldn't start hanging out with his ex-girlfriend. That's totally inappropriate, and that's totally fucked up. Something fishy is going on, regardless of the true nature of the situation. It's not right. You can tell something is definitely going on behind closed doors here, and she's not being fully honest. And for the brother, for Tyler, actually... to come out and say such a strong accusation, that's almost one of those situations where the accusation is so strong and so crazy that it would be ridiculous for him to just make that up. And to come out and put it all out on video on Facebook and on YouTube rather, that would be a very harsh, bold-faced lie if that was the situation. And I would tend to, believe Tyler in this situation. If she's hanging out with the ex-boyfriend's brother and she even admitted that she's hanging out with him. She admitted that there was a relationship that formed from there. They got close. She admitted these things. But then she clarified that she's not dating him, that they're just close friends. Okay, yeah, I don't believe that for a bit. And speaking of family, this just made me realize something. If we're going back up to the first paragraph here, she talks about how they had to move into her parents' house, and it put a lot of strain on the relationship because they were living like the Brady Bunch. Well, that has nothing to do with Tyler, really. I mean, yeah, it might look bad that he can't provide for himself. I don't know what the situation is, though. Yeah, it sucks that your boyfriend has to move in with you and your parents. That sucks. That's more of a status thing that definitely ties into hypergamy. But the 8 people, that has nothing to do with Tyler. That has to do with your fucking family not using, fancy new modern birth control methods like pulling out. It's not Tyler's fault that you have 8 people in your family and it's crowded and it's a crazy situation. Even if Tyler wasn't there, you'd still be with 7 people. You'd still be living there. You're still 15, whatever you are throughout the 5 years, however long you're living there. You're probably not going to be living on your own. That situation would have happened anyway, with or without Tyler. So you can't place blame on him. This is classic, girl, tactics where they claim the victim. Just anything that's situational is the male's fault, and this is just the way women think. And she goes on, and she says she was only really unhappy for like a year. So the first 4 years or whatever were decent. They must have been. I'm sure there were still some issues, but every relationship has issues. But she was basically only unhappy for the last year. And I'm sure there was some shit on Tyler's side. Maybe he was a little lazy. Maybe he did play video games a little too much or something. And maybe the relationship just got kind of stale. People get complacent. People stop trying. But there's definitely some ulterior motives going on here. And she only gave him 1 month to change her mind. No, that you don't just change somebody's mind over a month. There's a process. You really need to show some sort of long-term lifestyle change and commit to that change. So she set him up for failure. Unlike how, Jeff in his stupid Houston Post articles tries to say that Tyler set up Maddie for manipulation and humiliation with his marriage proposal. And let's go back to that article. The final statement from Maddie Gamble basically says, the things he has been saying about her are hurtful, and there's something they agreed not to do to each other, but it is not being reciprocated. What's not being reciprocated? All Tyler said was that she left him for his brother, and he felt hurt, and he felt like it was a spit in his face. Those are his words. It's not, he says nothing that was, derogatory, nothing misogynistic, nothing that was, just talking shit, and definitely nothing that Jeff here in his Fem Piece article is trying to make it sound like he's saying. So again, more boo-hoo, the girl is the victim, blaming the guy, and this SJW coming to her rescue. And Tyler actually admits to saying that he might have had some issues in the relationship, whereas from Maddie's side, she doesn't admit a single thing. Everything was Tyler's fault. It was his video games. She was better than him. She had to be the mother-son relationship. She had to deal with all of his mistakes. She didn't want to forgive him for things that she did forgive him for in the past. Everything is just putting Maddie up on a pedestal, putting her up on her high horse, and shedding negative light on Tyler. Now let's talk about Maddie complaining about never doing things that normal couples would do. What about when you two went to your art class together and hung out? What about when you went to the beach? Or how about when you did volunteer work together and collected bikes? Or when you guys would go to conventions together, or, another convention here. Here's an event where you guys are hanging out, doing things active. Here you are at Epcot Center or Disney World, going out to family dinners. Here's another, volunteering for a food drive. What about when you went on a road trip and went out to a nice lodge in the forest? Or when you guys went and hung out in the garden? Or how about when you volunteered and helped out some homeless vets? And here you're going kayaking. Or here you're hanging out at the lake. And here's another outing where I don't know what this is, going to a mall or going to a stadium or something, a game, I don't know. Going to the movies, that's normal couple stuff, isn't it? Going for walks in nature, that's normal couple stuff. Hanging out, shucking some oysters, going to prom, going to the river, hanging out, doing some tie-dye stuff, making t-shirts, whatnot. Volunteering again here, and, attending people's weddings. But you don't do anything, do you? There's no stuff you do as a couple. You just hang out and have to watch him play video games, right? And maybe some things happened over the 5 years of your relationship that put a downer on some things, but you cannot say that you guys never did anything. And once you add all this up, whose story really starts to fall apart here? I would say Maddie's story starts to fall apart here. This is a cold, hard case of hypergamy at its worst. The girl is closely approaching 21 years old. She realizes that she wants some changes in her life, wants to pursue her prospects, as she puts it. She's looking for the bigger, better deal. She's looking for somebody with either a bigger dick, bigger wallet, or something to, shoot his white sticky stuff all over her face. And here's what I consider the coup de grace in all of this. If you, here's a pro tip. If you're ever looking at a news article, watching a news video, something, if you're, just paying attention to somebody telling you a story, try to listen and pick out any dates or times and put those in the back of your head, because those are one of the best ways to put together a story and figure out what's going on. If we go back to Jeff's article and look at Maddie's statement, she said that in July, that was basically the breaking point for her, where she gave him the ultimatum to make some changes and change her mind about the relationship. Both Maddie and ass clown Jeff are setting up these articles and these statements to all make it sound like this whole proposal Easter egg thing was a desperate ploy to save the relationship. And there might have been some motivations along those lines, but once you go back and look at the Twitter where it originally happened, that was May 10th. So before Maddie gave him his final, ultimatum or whatever, he was already in preparations to come up with this wedding proposal idea. And so Jeff is full of shit. Maddie's full of shit. This wasn't just a last-ditch effort to save his relationship. Maddie did, let's be fair here. Maddie did say that she was unhappy for the past year, but that really doesn't lead up to Tyler going through and trying to come up with this wedding proposal idea. And she already brought up wedding proposals. She already had a predetermined preferred method of being proposed to. So obviously that was discussed at some point in time between Maddie and Tyler. So it wasn't just some out-of-the-blue random act of desperation by Tyler, as Jeff and Maddie seem to claim to make it sound like through all of this. And when we go back to this whole July, the final straw for Maddie, that was nothing more than basically a 30 days notice telling Tyler that she's going to break up with him. She already made up her mind at that point. People do this shit all the time. They don't want to come out looking like the bad guy and just say we're breaking up. I mean, they know they don't want to drag it on any further, but they give a little bit of a timeline basically as a mercy kill. They give you this false sense of hope that it can be fixed. It's manipulative. It's fucked up. And pussy people do this shit all the time, especially women. They love playing this game of giving you, this sense of saving the relationship when, the woman has already made up her mind. And that's what this whole July ultimatum was, basically. Just her 30 days notice. That's all it was. She basically treated Tyler like it was a cheap apartment and she was just going to get out. And what this really boils down to is one of the early stages of hypergamy. I'll make a video about this in the future, about the different stages of hypergamy, where there are some noteworthy events that take place in a woman's life, or lifetime rather, where she has these changes and these decision-making times where she basically comes up with, do I take this path? Do I take that path? Do I stick with this guy? Do I move on to another guy? And this was one of those stages. You will find that around the time of high school graduation up into the time where they turn 21, that's one of those stages. It's this kind of gray area, this in-between time where she's making a lot of decisions. Does she, once she graduates high school, does she go to college? Does she, go to a college in a different state, a community college that's local? Does she just get a job? Does she want to stick with her boyfriend? Does she want to leave her boyfriend to go pursue other dreams and goals? Does she, want to turn 21 and go ride the cock carousel, which is usually the case? When I was in high school and just, graduating high school, getting out of high school, every single one of my friends that had a girlfriend lost their girlfriends, basically. They all split, basically, just for whatever reason. The guys were just their entertainment in high school, and now they were going to go on to college guys or some older guys. Women were no longer shackled to these classrooms anymore. They could go out into the free world. They were basically free-range vagina now. They weren't vagina in training, just hanging out in the classrooms. I even had a girlfriend for about a year and a half to 2 years that I was with, and we broke up. Of course, if you've watched my previous video, I broke it off. And I had a conversation with her sometime later, like a few years later, and I told her that I actually had the intentions of asking her to marry me. And she said, well, I never would have married you. And I said, why? And she said, basically, I was a placeholder. I was I was just her quote unquote high school boyfriend. And, she was going to go to college and go on to other things afterwards. I was like, oh, great. So that 2 years that I was with you was pretty much just me being a placeholder. And that's how a lot of women work. So there you go. And what's really interesting about this situation is that it is perfectly in alignment with the storyline of the actual Spider-Man comics or movies or cartoons, whatever, the Spider-Man universe. Peter Parker has issues with girlfriends that leave him or he can't manage a relationship with, and it's just crazy because this guy Tyler is such a big Spider-Man fan, and it's almost like he's living the actual situations that take place in the Spider-Man lore, if you will. So, and that's about enough of all the negative, bullshit surrounding this situation. There actually is a positive outcome to this, for what it's worth. Tyler was able to reach out to Insomniac Games, and they are patching out the Maddie, will you marry me message and changing it with some sort of message that is for Tyler's grandmother as a tribute. Tyler's grandmother, I guess, was the first person to ever give Tyler a Spider-Man comic book and create his interest in Spider-Man. So that's a good, I guess one good outcome of this whole situation. If you're watching this, Tyler, or anybody else, just realize what this is for really what it is. And that is, it's just another basic case of hypergamy. I'm sure there was some issues on both of your guys' side, but the ultimate reason why she left is pretty, self-evident. So don't keep yourself down, stick to your writing, which you said you like to do. Keep your head up, stay active, keep pursuing your dreams, and definitely get your ass back in the gym. Stay active. It's one thing to have video games as a hobby, but it shouldn't be your only hobby. Stay active as well. Hit the bag, lift some weights, and just try to stay healthy and active, as well as have your other hobbies as well. And I definitely suggest you really need to read The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi, and take a healthy dose of red pills. Wake up to the true nature of women and the true way that this gynocentric world works against you at every cost. And never ever double down on a relationship when there's trouble going on, there's issues. You really need to fix your issues before you take any sort of next step. Otherwise, those issues will just come back to haunt you. And I recommend, don't get married, period. Never ever get married. As a man, you are totally fucked once you get married. You give up everything. You turn it's not just about the woman, it's about the state. She has all the power to just ass rape you through divorce. And you definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation. There are many cases where people think doubling down is the best thing to do in a relationship to try and save it. Many times a woman will say, oh, let's have a baby. Oh, let's get married. It'll make the love spark again and create some magical situation where it fixes everything. But it never happens. You definitely cannot be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. It sounds like you did have a little bit of a Spidey sense moment.
The almost mistake that I made. The almost.
And you definitely need to listen to that. Tune up your Spidey sense and, pay attention to what's going on in your life and just do what you can do to make yourself a better man. And don't do it for a woman. Do it for you. You are your own point of origin. You are your center. And no woman is going to validate that. You don't need female validation. And that's pretty much it for this video. I think I said everything I wanted to say, and hopefully people can learn from this issue, and hopefully Tyler can learn a few things. As with all of my MGTOW related videos, I have a sample of what I consider MGTOW music. If you'd like more MGTOW music, you can check out my playlist that I've put together. There is a link in the description. Today's MGTOW music sample comes to us from the R&B group called The Main Ingredient with their song Everybody Plays the Fool off their album Bittersweet, released in 1972. Enjoy.